Hello, in this video I will show you how to put together this tent camping box, which is a 3D SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs that was recently updated. And so this is a new assembly video. It used to be only written instructions. So this is an existing design. This is not a new design as of this video, but it is one that we've had for a while. We had only written instructions. So it's the tent camping box that we're going to show you how to put together, but there have been modifications since the first version. So with this version, obviously if you have the original version of the file, you can go ahead and re-download it. Just go to your account and download it, and if you have some troubles you can contact us via our contact form. So I did this miniature one. This is not miniature, but a smaller one. It's a 75%, and I did it without the cooler that we're going to show you, and I put some camp buttons that I had out there. So this is the original version, and what I mean by that is when you watch this video, the original version, these panels were just placed on top. As of these two, we just place them. So when you make the box, we're going to make the top similarly. The only difference is that we have now openings. So where this is, you can see this is larger. This is the full size. Where we can put vellum or to make it a tea light holder, or you can put a pattern paper behind there. So it also gives it dimension with the edge of the this particular opening. If it's placed behind it, it gives it more dimension. And then of course you can put a tea light inside, which is, I'm going to add vellum on the version I'm going to show you. So the only difference is it all goes together the same, but you would put the panels on after you put the top together, because this just comes off for a box. So this is a good size if you want to go a little bit smaller. This is 75%, but I'm not guaranteed that the lantern and the cooler will come out, will be easy to put together. So again, these are just little buttons I added to it, just that were fun. So let's go ahead and show you the new version. So that version I showed you with the external panels is called the original version in your file. So here are the pieces. So we have this is the top, the sides, and then the back and the front. You can see that it's open, so the solid version was just 2 of these. And then we have these little vellum panels that go inside. So those will go underneath. And what I did not cut out are just optional panels that you can put on the inside if you don't like to see the tabs or the vellums. I just added those to the extra stuff. So it'll be, you'll see, so look for the extra stuff folder if you're concerned about giving this as a gift and not having it a little bit cleaner looking inside. So that's that. So those are the windows and the door, and then the cooler and the box part on the bottom, and then we have the trees. And I just wanted to make a special note that there are now 2 bases. So if you open up the PDF file included within the zip file, of course this is always a reference file for all files we have, but if you scroll down to the second page, there's 2 bases. So you'll see this in the video, but now that I made a change, I have a base that will work with a battery operated tea light or candle really well, which is this left one. So that's 1 12 by 12. You can ungroup it to make it use a letter size. Not all my files are like that. And the right one is 2 pieces of paper for the box version, which is what the file originally was designed with, but I wanted to make it a tea light holder as well, so you have the option of either or. So this will take 1 12 by 12, and this will be 2 12 by 12s, or multiple 8.5 by 11s. So what we're going to start with first are the little things, which we have these. So these are the door pieces still. I just don't want to lose them. So let's go ahead and put together we'll take out the pieces for the cooler. I like to do the little things first, just to get them out of the way. Of course, you could forward on if you don't want to do that part yet, or if you decide not to do the cooler, because you don't have to do it all. We have this little light that hangs. It's not on the other one, and these little leaves. So these little, not leaves, grass pieces go on the side if you choose. You don't have to put them on the side. So take that, pick that up. And then we have a little flame. So here are the pieces to that. So we're going to piece things together. We're not going to do that yet. We're going to put those aside. I'll put them over here. And just a little tip. I have the flame like this. It's just a little flame piece. So you can draw it on, or you could cut it like this. I have two of them. The reason I have two of them, and I did that the same thing with the button part, is sometimes one doesn't cut right, so I just out of habit cut two just in case I either drop one on the floor, or they're so teeny that, you know, it's just easier for me to do a couple since they're so small. See, I just put one back in there. So this is the little button that we use for you'll see how it goes together, but I'm going to use a little enamel dot. So you see the little enamel dot. So I'll zoom in when we get to the assembly part. So we'll do that one first, since it's the smallest. So I'm going to use this little pick-me-up tool, and it helps to pick up little pieces, because this is quite small. So just take the tops off. I took it off already. I thought it was on. See, it's right there. It has a little sticky thing on the end if you've never used one of those. So we have this metallic piece, the background piece. And it's just going to layer like this. So those metal pieces will be completely hidden. If you wanted, here's a little option. If you wanted to see some of the metal, you could always cut that with your scissors and have like metal arms and have the bottom top, but trying to make it easy to have it one piece. So having a fine tip applicator like this is handy, because you can get a really small stream of glue. I'm using art glitter glue, but I had it open for too long, so I always have a pin handy. I always test my glue before I start to make sure it's flowing, and I did, but then I delayed starting the video. So I'm just doing a really light amount of glue. The other thing that works well for this, for me, some people use Xyron sticker machines for this kind of thing. I'm not a big fan, but some people like them. And then the other thing, you have to try things before you know whether you like them or not. And the other thing is the Zig pen. If you look up Zig pen, glue pen, the tip is like a little ballpoint pen, and it's easy to place glue. It's this right here. So it has a little tip, and you just push down to activate the glue, and it comes out. And as I wasn't paying attention, this piece goes down first. So you put this piece down first. I accidentally did it the wrong way the first time. Then we'll go ahead and put this green piece on. It's already put glue on it once because I put it on wrong. Just a little glue on the dried glue on the back. Go ahead and line that up. You can see how it lines up. I always try to get it lined up before I really press to down. So you just have that metal piece showing on top. And this little piece can go right here. I'll show you. So let's use the pick me up tool. So I'm going to show you where it goes first before I put the glue. So if you don't want to use it, it looks fine without it. It just gives it just an extra bit of dimension. So I'm just going to add a little glue here because I know where it goes. I'm just making sure the textured side is up before, when I move it. So this is a really small piece, so if you were to do it smaller, it would be harder to cut this piece and to piece it together. Then I'm just going to add glue. I'm going to dot it on here. And I inked that white background a little bit. And then you would go ahead and you can put the button right there. But I think I want to use this instead. It's kind of a big one. Let's get a flatter one. So I have one of these. I'll use one of these. These are enamel dots. So I'm going to use about the same size. So you can use that or something dimensional like this. So I'm just going to take one of these off. I like to add a little dimension here and there just because it's gives it more interest in my opinion. So that's from Outlet, the one I'm using. So that's finished. So we'll go ahead and work on this cooler. So we're going to put these white pieces. There's those 3 white pieces. Make sure you don't lose them. I'm just putting them to the side. I'm going to move this also back into my embellishment bowl so I don't lose it. So we want to go ahead and fold these. Fold it like this. So it's quite small. And so that the white pieces are trim that go around the front and sides to make it look like a red ice cooler. So we're just going to go ahead and glue these tabs. Go get the flow going again. Yeah, one thing I always recommend with any of your glue, be careful when you have it in fine tip applicators because it gets kind of stuck like that. I mean, like it'll get stuck in the little opening if you haven't used it for a while. So I'm just matching up this edge. You see how I folded it? Line it up to that tab fold and just reaching in, applying pressure on the tab inside and out. Same thing I'll do here. And then we're just going to continue gluing the tabs, the next tabs on the other side in, but you want to make sure that these are good and secure before you start moving around because you don't want to pull one edge apart. So make sure you have some good scores. I'm going to push those in, add glue to both of those tabs. And I have a little damp paper towel on the side if I should have some issues with it coming out in areas I don't want it to, or to wipe off my fingertip. So it's just really just a closed box. There's no functionality to this. This is just part of the decoration of the box. what would be fun too, some ideas, you could use other elements from other designs. Like we have a fishing box card, fishing truck card, going fishing, I believe truck card is what I call it. It's got a couple fishing, it's got a fishing pole and a couple other little things. That would be fun to add to this if you wanted to give it to somebody who was a fisherman. So those last three, add glue, they overlap a little bit, that's okay. We're just going to close it up gently. You kind of want them flipped up still. And we're just going to line it up so you can't get inside, so you need to lightly align it, and then once it's in place you can just lightly rub where the tabs are. So now with the white pieces, I'm going to bring them out over. They have little scores in them, so they're cut score lines. So they're right here. You'll see them, but you have to look carefully. I didn't make them regular score lines because they're teeny. These are teeny, teeny, teeny. So the same thing here. And it may not fold straight, so you probably might have to fold it manually. So you want to make sure you're on the correct side. So you see, if I go like that, it'll go around, but if you do it from this side, it's not going to go all the way to the side. So it needs to be the narrow or the wider, I'm trying to think of it. That part, the narrow part's the bottom. So you see how that goes only one way, it'll go all the way around. Make sure you have that correct way before you start putting glue on it. So you could start this way. So one's going to go on the bottom. So pick whatever's the top or bottom. So this one's going to go on the bottom. And I'm lightly kind of placing it, see on the edge like that. I'm going to wrap it around. I haven't put glue on it, but it's going to wrap around like that. So now I'm just going to guide it around that bottom edge. Just be careful putting too much pressure because it is hollow. So you just want to rub and make sure you get it on there. And this next one will be up here. So I put a little gap, almost like an old, those older igloo coolers where the top is red still, you kind of lift it up. So that's the look I went with on this one. I'm not going to go from the side, I'm going to center this one because I want to make sure it is where I want it to be from the top. So just eyeball what looks good to you. I always just dry fit it before I put glue on it to know where I'm going to put it. And it kind of looks like a lid from there, right? So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on these side pieces and fold it over. So this is just a little embellishment. And this is just a little piece that you can put on top. You can pop it up. I wouldn't pop it up with too much of a popped up, but it's just dimension. It gives it dimension when you can see the edges. It looks like a little latch. And that's all it is. It's just a dimensional piece. So you just fit it right there. And that's done. So that'll be one of the things that goes in front of the tent. So let's move on to the, actually let's do one other thing. Oh, I forgot the side. Look at this. So you want to put those little handles. So you can have them flipped out or you can just glue them down. But I think they're kind of fun flipped out. So I'm just going to add glue to that top part right here. Up there. Put them on the side. So as you can imagine, this gets really tiny if you size it down. So just make sure it's in like the same spot. So there it is. So we'll move on to the tent now. So to work on the tent piece, you'll want these panels for the two windows, these two, and then these two. And if you choose to do this solid version, you would have two of these, and then another couple panels like this. So you'd have that panel, that, and that. So you want to fold all the tabs like this to start with. So we're going to use these two pieces. But before we start gluing this, let's go ahead and put this front window panel. So what I really love embossing. And if anybody is with us with embossing folders. So this, I like the effect of embossing on vellum, which is, you know, partially clear so we can have a tea light go through. So I think it's a fun effect, so I had to do that. So this is just going to glue back here and just going to line that edge right here. But you see you have enough area to glue it. So what I would do is this. So I'm not going to show you any panels, but I am including optional panels. If you don't really care, then don't use them. I'm not usually one of those people that is very particular about that, even when I give gifts. But some people are. So when we glue this down, I'm trying to center it as best I can. We just want to make sure that at least it gets above that opening at the middle. Some people don't like to give gifts with that kind of stuff in it, so I just included panels in the extra stuff folder, in the zip folder under SVG files, if you wanted to cut those out as well. But a lot of people are okay with it. So you can see it goes like that. And if you wanted to, we'll just do the windows too at the same time. So you can set them and you can see how much of an edge you have, which is, so basically I would just go like this. Don't get too close to the opening, because if you have to maneuver it a little bit, move it around to get it centered, then you're apt to get glue in an area you don't want to see. So I'll just start there. So those can continue to dry when we're working on putting the top of the tent, tent on. So you can see that's what it looks like on the other side. So now we'll take this, and we need these two pieces, but we're going to do one at a time. We're going to start with the front. So what you want to kind of do, this is the top. So this is going to go along that. It's going to glue on the top like that. What you want to do is probably pre-curl it. Not probably, pre-curl it, so you can do that. So this is the texture side. that's facing you on the camera. So I'm kind of curling it with my fingertips. You could do it on the edge of the table too. So I'll do it on the edge of the table, just lightly. And all it is to curl the paper a little bit. So when we put it on, it makes it easier to glue onto the tabs. And I found that it's easier, but here's the most important thing. It's easier to start from one of the edges. One thing that I will tell you is that make sure you get as close when we place this first tab, and we're going to just glue this first tab, we want to make sure this little corner here is close to this little corner here. Okay, so we're going to anchor the tab. So make sure you have all those tabs scored and folded. So I'm just putting a little glue on there. I'm going to start the process. So I'll make sure you can see it well, so I'm kind of twisting my finger, twisting a little bit more. There we go. So I'm just lining that up. So making that corner starts at the very edge of this tent roof line. So there we go. So that's where it's, so you want to make sure that's the most critical part, is getting that first one in. So I'm kind of holding it in place. I know I'm kind of pulling it away, but you can add glue to just a couple at a time, or all of them, it depends. So I'm only going to start with 3 for right now for illustration purposes. So what we're going to do is continue. So if you're left-handed, you might want to start from the other side. Because I'm so right-handed, I use my left hand as my helper hand, my right hand as the dominant hand. So I'm going from where I started to the next tab until we're lining it up, making sure this lines up with the folds, the tab folds. And I only did 3 tabs. So if you do it a little bit at a time like this, you'll have to reach in and add glue. So be careful, because you don't want to be pulling it away as you're adding glue to the tabs. So if you're confident and you can do it faster, so once you do it a little bit more, you might be able to do all the tabs at once, which I can do, but for illustration purposes, I don't want to go that fast. I probably will on the other edge. So as we're doing it, we want to make sure that we line this. This is lined up, so the front is lined up to the edge. So I'm kind of moving it. The nice thing about wet glue is I'm kind of moving it along to make sure that it's in the right place. And to minimize the gap here, you really need to do each tab at a time. The other thing I will say is that I will gently ink the edges, and I will show you that when we're done. So if you do have any defects, perhaps a little bit of glue showing, that helps. That's always something I would recommend. So when it gets to the other side, I'm just going to do it dry. We're going to go like this and continue down that road. So you can see that the point up there. So the other thing you can do, so you could glue this edge and guide up. That's up to you. In fact, let's do it that way. And the reason why I'm saying that is that if I start at this edge again, and I'm going up, and it'll just kind of, you know, there's pros and cons to this. So actually, let's just continue. But you can do it that way. If you're advanced and you're confident, just go ahead and do it whatever feels good to you. So I'm going to do all the tabs this time. But again, you need to know your glue, because if you put glue on all the tabs and then you get to the last couple tabs and they're not sticky anymore, then you have to put glue on them again. Then it typically doesn't stick as well. So I'm going to get it in place. So I'm going the opposite right now. Let me flip it around so you can see it. It's just not in my natural hand form here. So I'm sticking my right hand in and going down. It's not as hard as it seems. It's just a matter of getting everything lined up. Fortunately, you can reach in pretty well. So I did have a little bit of overlap, showing a little bit more than I wanted to, but that's okay. So we'll do this on the other side, and I did try to start from the middle, so if you want to give that a try, you can. You certainly could do that, but you'd want to kind of go from the middle down and then in the middle of the other side. So if you do a lot of these, you'll figure out what works best for you. So this one, I'm going to still have you watch me, but I'm anchoring that first one, but I'm putting glue on the rest of them. I have a bit of allergies today. What's nice is with wet glue is when it's wet, it's easy to move around. That's why I prefer using wet glue rather than like a hot glue or something like that. I've seen people doing paper crafts with hot glue, and it boggles my mind because I'd probably just end up burning my fingers all the time anyways. I'm just not somebody who should be holding a hot glue gun. Usually come away with burns every single time. I'll use them occasionally when I feel they're necessary, but oof. So that's what it looks like inside. So the panels that you'll get that are optional are to cover these tabs, cover the vellum panels inside. So you could put those on either, well, the side ones, if you're going to put the inside panel, if you decide to do that, you probably want to put the inside ones on this first before we assemble it. And then these can be done anytime, before or after. I mean, these have to be done after the tabs. So I'm going to put these tabs on the way that the first way I explained. And I'll show you how it works. I'm really careful about getting glue towards the seam here, so not much leaks out. So I try to spread it as well as I can to make sure that I still have wet glue. So this way I'm going to line it up down here on the other side, like I did from that side, and go up the opposite way. Some people might find that easier. It gets a little harder when you get up to the top, but you can just make sure you move it around your hands. You just have to maneuver. So I'm to that top tab, and I just continue to go over them to make sure that I minimize the edge there. So that's what it looks like inside. So if you had the inside panels, you could put it there. So, but it's curved, so that's what I'm saying. So I probably wouldn't do it myself, but I'm going to offer them. So these, push these 4 tabs inside. I tried adding these earlier in the assembly process, and it's just not that easy. So we're going to do it this way. So now we have these sides we're going to attach them inside. So add glue to that tab. We're just going to line it up. So I'm lining the edge of the roof, and I'm going right up to the fold line. So you need to see that score. It can be a little bit, you can go right up to it. I just need to adjust that side a little bit. And once you get it into place, you can kind of pull it, go like that to get it situated. Fortunately, it's flat enough at that point that it's easier to do. And then we go ahead and add glue on these tabs. So I kind of mentioned it earlier, so when we put that tab, we can just go ahead and apply pressure right there. But when you're using this version, which I think is even better with pattern paper, you could just put a regular pattern paper if that's what you want to use, or a different colored cardstock, and it just gives it a little bit more dimension because it indent. That's, I mean, to see that edge. So I actually think this is a better overall design with the openings, but I don't like to take away things that were there before, so that's why the original version's still there. If I see a file and I think that there's room for improvement but it's not going to make a huge change, then I'm just going to make the change and either update the instructions or obviously make a new video. So we're going to put the other one on the same way. So I'm not going to show you that. I'm just going to do it, and then I'll be back for the next step. So here it is finished. So what we can do is add the door elements. So this just goes around the edge on both sides, like that. So we're going to glue those to the edges on the side, and then this in the middle. So you see how that's going to go like that. Okay. So let me do that really quick. And if you do like our projects, I always ask if you could give us a like on the video. And if you subscribe, if you haven't already done so, you can go ahead and hit the little subscribe button, and then to the right of it is a little bell, and if you want to be notified in your notifications in YouTube, it'll let you know when we have new videos, new projects, new tutorials, that kind of thing. I just put a little thin layer of glue right down the middle. Start at one side. Whether you want to start up the top will be the best, because at least you can center it. Especially once the glue hits the paper, kind of where it's going to be, right? I kind of followed the line down close enough, that little zipper. And that was an extra piece just in case I made a mistake somewhere. So now that's done, let's go ahead and do the, there's details we can add to it, but let's do the bottom box. So one thing I want to note, this file got a recent update. So with those updates, some changes took place. So we now have two bases. So later in the video, you're going to see this. So I revamped the video, and after I did the video, I realized when you put this over, and put a tea light in, you can't see through, obviously, the box on the bottom. So it's not that, it's just because I redesigned it and I didn't do a test before, and that's just a side effect. So in the rest of the video, you're going to see this, and I'm going to show you how to put that together really quick. But this is the same. If you want it to be a tea light holder from the get-go, you want to use this base. So there's going to be 2 bases in your software. I'm going to show you that to you. So as you can, I'm going to show you the SVG file. As you can see in the complete file, you'll want to use the one to the right there, here, versus the one on the left. So just make sure that you just cut one of them based on your needs. So if you want it to be a gift box, you want to use this one. And you wouldn't want to put a tea light in it at all, and so you could just use this same file, or the solid one, and just put a pattern paper behind it. So it's just not clear. But if you intend it to be a tea light holder, and it still can hold a small gift, you want to use this space. Okay? So let's go ahead, quickly put this together. It's really simple. They're the same. So I'm just folded them all on their the tabs here. So here, a trick to fold something so narrow like this is to put it down on the table and then gently fold up on the score, and then score it. So we're going to go ahead and flip this over so the texture side's up. So that's the side effect of doing a redesign on something that already exists. It's always testing, and I had an idea to make those so you could put vellum on them for a tea light, and I just it required a different base. So this will be tall enough to hold it in place, and you can still put a gift in there. So if you want to give it as a gift, and see, this is the one I would use if I were going to use it as a box still, because once you lift the tent, you can still put something underneath it. So it's 2 in 1. So this is the one I would recommend using. So we're going to glue this other side tab, and then we're lining this edge up to the tab bowl. Now I'm not afraid to tell you when I make mistakes, but I wanted to make this file better. In my updates, I always like to try to make something better, whether it just be refining the file a little bit or adding something to it. So this time it was an addition that kind of bit me because I wasn't paying attention. That's really the bottom line. So we go ahead and fold these inward and add glue to all the tabs on the inside. So you'll see this again with the solid version, or the original box version. We'll just go ahead and we're going to insert this in here, and then just guide it into place. Just line up all those edges to the inside tab folds. There's a slight angle to it for the sides. And then you're going to look for the 2 cut lines here. And if you want to have this, and you'll see this in the next section, by the way, so I'll go over this a little bit more detail. If you want to have this in the front, you want to put this as far back as possible. So you're seeing this prior to me actually making it in the next section. So you'd put it back like that, but if you don't want to use the cooler, you could center it a little bit, but at least those cut lines are there to help guide them on the left and right. So just adding glue to the bottom. And if you want to have the back edge, so make sure the opening's in the front and the curvy side. So I would just look for the cut line right there. And you can see how it lines up anyways. You can fit it in that section in the back, and then apply pressure down. And to make sure it's good and glued, and then we'll show you the box version really quick, and then move on to the rest of it. So So as you can see, so you're seeing the finished one right now. Obviously I haven't done it yet, but you'll see it later in the video. But it just sits over it and just fits it in place. And then you can put a tea light underneath and it'll shine through these windows. And the only place it won't shine here is just that bottom edge, but it keeps it in place. These are these two pieces. So those that have done this before, I don't know why I didn't do it before, but I have a inside piece of this box now. So before it used to be, didn't have that bottom panel. So we're just gonna fold these. It's a pretty simple box. It's just angled. So this is a good little box. It's gonna sit on top of this. And it's a little angled, so you can put a little gift in there if you wanted. Move that so I don't get glue on it. Just gonna add glue to the side tab here. I'm just lining this up to the tab fold. Try not to go over it too much. Line it up at the top. And you can fold it over, and it won't do it like that because it's got an angle to it. So you'll have to add glue to the panel and then kind of guide it to line it up here. Just like that. And then once you kind of get it in place, you can always use pressure against the table to get it secured. So now we have these 4 tabs. So we can add glue to, we folded them in, so you can see that they're folded in. We're just going to add glue to them on the inside and just insert this. That's the easiest way. We don't care about the tabs being on the bottom because we have a bottom piece that we're going to place. Got a little glue on my mat. So I'm just going to insert this. Place it down. Make sure that the edges of the panel match up to the inside edge of the tabs down there. Get it nice and glued. Nice part, I didn't care about the glue that was on the mat because this is the box, bottom of the box won't be visible. So now we have that done. It's going to go over like this. Like that. So that's why you can put a little gift, or you can put a little battery operated tea light or something like that. So here we go. We're going to place this on here. So that's the back of it. So you can line it up. See, there's 2 little cut lines right here. That, and that. And that's going to help you center it from right and left. Then you want to push it back. You can line it up to the back if you like, or you can have it up a little bit. That's what I did with this one because I knew I wasn't going to have this smaller one, because I knew I wasn't going to have the cooler in the front. I just had the back over a little bit more on the back showing. But if you want the cooler in the front, you're going to want to push it all the way back. So remember, use those little guideline cut lines to center it left and right. So we're going to add glue to the bottom of this, and I'm going to flip that panel around So this doesn't really have a front and back. I mean, it's just the wide parts in the front or back. So I'm going to flip this panel around. And I'm going to place it towards the back edge. So you see it's, can't really see, but it's lined up with the back of the panel right here. And then I had it centered on left and right. I'm going to go ahead and set it in place. So you want to start further back, so it's better to be off it a little bit on the back than to be in the front, because if you have a little bit of glue and you have to move it back, the glue might show in the front. So you want to be careful with that. But now you can see from the top that that will fit like that in front. So we'll have a little gap, so you can open, you can lift the top of the tent. So we'll want to have a little gap there, if you can see, so that's not interfering. It'll be easier to have it on when we glue that on. So just a couple more details to add. So this is up to you whether you want to use it. You could use these little grass pieces, and I just put them along the side. So you can put more, less, whatever. I just put just 3 on each side, just to have something fun on, some greenery on the side. So I'll add that, and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm just putting that right there for now. I'm going to go ahead, those inside panels, by the way, at the minimum you might want to put them right there, because those may interfere when you turn it, take it on and off. So let me go ahead and I'm going to glue those on, these little pieces to the sides, and then this overlaps there. So I'm going to give this a little embossing. I forgot to emboss. And then we're going to glue all the rest of this on. So I'll show you that in the next step. So before I went on, I wanted to just show you that I actually just kind of curl these back. I have a little stylus. See the top of those? I just kind of, let me just move that there. Curl those a little bit up for dimension, and then I just place them wherever. You can space them equally, or do kind of like a bunch. So I'm just doing a bunch there, like there's a bunch of grass. You could make more. You can have different. But that just kind of gives it a little bit dimension. So you could do, or just not use them at all. So that's the other option. So now I also layered this. I put some foam tape on the back and added this tree. This tree is going to go right here. It's just easier. This is going to attach to the front. Put it like that. Take it off the box. I want this to hang off of this, so we want it to be clear of it. So I put making sure I didn't put the foam tape too high. Maybe a little bit, but I'm going to go inward a little bit. So I wanted the pop-up tape, so I'm just going to cut a piece off. So it gives it just a little bit of distance, gives it a little bit of dimension. That's sticky tape. So you want to line that bottom part up at the bottom, and then attach it that way. So there it is. And then the last part we want to do, we want to attach. So I'm going to put this on this back. So you could do this before too. We're going to glue this to the back. And this bottom will line up. So you just want to make sure nothing is beyond that edge. So we're going to go ahead and line this up. Oops. So we don't want to add glue to, you can either glue it or add foam. So that's basically the look, right? So you could add, if you wanted to give it a little dimension or a little bit depth, you could add a little foam tape or a couple layers of it. So let's go ahead and add some foam tape. So as I was adding the foam tape, I just made sure it wasn't going to be visible. So that's about the areas. So it's going to add a little dimension in the back, or you could just glue it. So I'm just going to have it sit on the ground. I'm going to place it. I should be looking from the other side, but I'm just going to lightly tap it on, and then I think I wanted to go a little bit to the right. I mean, you could center. I don't need to have the trees being centered. So there it is. So you can always add pressure now. You could add a little message in the back if this was actual gift, or obviously a lot of you would do cards anyways. So now I'm going to put that down with all the extra things. So here it is. Pretty big box, but how fun is that? Then you can go ahead and take this. So I don't have anything on the back because it's going to be close to it. It's not going to be against it. So I just add glue to the bottom here. Make sure you're on the bottom part. Make sure there's a good enough gap between this. So I'm just going to make sure there's a good gap so the lid will still lift. So it'll still lift and fit in there. And then you'll have that. I meant to go to the right a little bit. And then the last touch is hanging the lantern. So I know this is going to be hard to see, but when you hang the lantern like that, you can just kind of twist it. You could add a little bit of glue, like right here on the back. I'm just going to do a little bit, it's just a smidgen. So when you place it, you want it to stay. I want to make sure it's in the right place. The glue has to be on that part. Let's make sure. I just want it to be sticky. You can just glue it to the end of this. So now we have the two bases. Obviously I installed the cooler on the box one. So if you were going to do something with solid panel, like solid, not vellum, if you're going to do the fronts and the windows with a pattern paper or cardstock, I would say use this. I mean, you could use either one. It's up to you. It's your preference. But if you want a tea light to go in like this, you can still put a gift in this. And we, obviously put the cooler on there, but then I would just use this. So it'll hold it. So I'm just going to flip it over. Of course, the tea light's going to move on me. But there's the finished tent camping box. And you can make it smaller, as you saw. So what I did on this one is I just decided to, I used greenery on one side and a little bit on the other side. These are pattern paper. That's the original version that I talked about earlier. And I had these camping buttons that I've had in my stash for a long time. I just added them. It was just fun. This is 75% of the original size. So this is with the regular box. So that's when I would say use the regular box. If you want it to be tea light, use vellum paper. Then you want to use this base. Okay, I said box, but base. So let me take that out, just so you can get a bit better idea of what they look like now. I'll put it on here so I can, it has all the cooler and everything. So we have that, and then here's the smaller version. And the smaller version was really fun to make, but I didn't attempt to do the cooler in the smaller version, but I know others that have. So I hope you like this project, and thank you so much for watching.